Ohio State sitting at the number 4 spot in the college football playoff rankings. I think there's a very real argument to be made that they are more dangerous than they were even before. And they were dangerous before. I know they lost badly at home to Michigan. Ohio State fans, I've heard a lot about that over the past week. They remember that. But I think this is a team that is in a really interesting position. And we talked about this actually post-game on the field in Columbus. We were there. We saw the clinic that happened. But I said, okay, well, there's still that very, very small silver lining that if these things fall into place, Ohio State could find themselves in that 4 spot. And wouldn't you know it, the Ohio State Buckeyes now have a chance to play for a national championship. The thought was maybe this was a failed season, as it was the year before. But now in that 4 seed, they have new life. Here's the interesting thing about Ohio State. For the entirety of the offseason, you know what we talked about? Jaxson Smith-Njigba, he's a playmaker, he's a game breaker, he's going to be the absolute best receiver in the country. And then what happened? Ohio State was pretty much without number 11 the entirety of the season. Pretty much didn't get to see him. Ohio State really hasn't been healthy. And everybody's banged up at this point in the year. Michigan's had Blake Corum banged up. Georgia's had A.D. Mitchell banged up. I mean, heck, at this point in the year, nobody's healthy. But I think the point remains, Ohio State could be even more dangerous now that they have a couple weeks to get back right. I mean, the running back room, they were playing a former linebacker at running back against Michigan. Did a good job, I'll grant him that, but he wasn't Mayan Williams. He wasn't Travion Henderson. And I promise you, Ohio State Buckeye fans, that was a lot of the talking points for them after that Michigan game ended. Hey, we haven't been healthy in a minute. Well, now they're going to get a chance to play the big dogs in Atlanta, in Georgia, with, you would hope, a more full-strength version of what that Buckeye program can be. And I think that's problems for the rest of the college football landscape. We're not going to predict this game right now. We'll do that on this channel. You better believe it. But I'm just saying, a healthy Ohio State, for the first time all season, could be a dangerous Ohio State. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, we would love to have you at the party. We've had a lot of the Ohio State faithful join us this season. We're so glad you're here. If you haven't yet joined the party, no better time than now. It's playoff season. We got you covered. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're locked in. Follow me on the socials as well, at JD Pakel on Twitter and on Instagram. Here's another thing that I think Ohio State fans should be alert of when it comes to this game against Georgia. Georgia's the best team in the country. There's no doubt about it. And if Georgia were to fall to Ohio State, I don't know if you put it in the upset category, but Georgia's going to be favored in this game. And in every game where you go into not being favored, you're not going to have all the matchups. But the reality is, to win that game, you just need one. And I think that one matchup could be in the strength of Ohio State's offense, of what they do in the pass game. Marvin Harrison Jr., you hope you get Jaxson Smith-Njigba back. Georgia gave up 500 yards passing to LSU. Now, far be it from me to ever question Kirby Smart or Glenn Schumer or Will Muschamp or how good they are defensively. I promise you, they will re-up, get ready to play. They'll patch up a lot of those issues they had in the secondary. But I am just saying, if in the event that they don't, Ohio State has the opportunity to make them pay. So again, I'm not predicting this. I'm just saying, if you're Ohio State and you're hoping for some sort of matchup to find, well, guess what? The matchup that could favor you could be your strength. Something to keep an eye on. CJ Stroud, I promise you, he's got a lot more that he would like to add to his legacy, something we talked about a lot after Michigan. If he could add national title to the resume, I think that would mean a lot to him. Obviously, goes without saying, but he will have the opportunity against this Georgia defense to try and test what they showed in a not as strong fashion in the SEC title game. So that could also make them dangerous. The fact they draw Georgia, I don't know that you're happy you draw Georgia, but I don't think you look at that and say, wow, we're just totally outmatched in every single matchup. At the very least, you got one that you think you can take advantage of. So here's the big talking point, and something that's going to be talked about for the next couple of weeks, and deservedly so. There is an enormous chip on Ohio State's shoulder. And yes, they didn't win the Big Ten last year. Yes, they lost to Michigan last year. But there was still that feeling, as week after week they were number 2 in the college football playoff rankings, there was still that feeling that Ohio State was still the top dog. And now, having suffered defeat to Michigan for the second time in a row, missed the Big Ten championship for the second time in a row, there is very much so the underdog feeling around Columbus. And for Ohio State, they are, in a lot of people's eyes, fortunate to be in the playoff. Had some things break their way to end up in this game. And so I was there in Columbus. Like I already said, I was there. I was in the stadium when they took that loss, and it felt like a funeral. Everybody was talking about playing for the Rose Bowl, and everybody was talking about how it was another failed season. They missed the standard. They looked their mortality in the face that night and had come to terms with it throughout the last couple of days. Then a little glimmer of hope sets in. TCU takes a loss, maybe widens the margin a little bit. Even more importantly, USC loses, which really is, I think, why they ended up getting in. Now, Ohio State has the big dog in the first round in Georgia, number 1 team in the country. They're coming into this game after having a loss is Ohio State. It's all teed up. If you want to have redemption, and Kirk Herbstreit said this as well, if you want to make a statement and prove it to the rest of the country, you deserve to be in the college football playoff. If you beat Georgia in round 1, I think you answer a lot of questions. Externally, yes, but how about internally? How about all the second guessing going on after losing to Michigan? I think the hunger of this team and the second life they now have makes them really, really dangerous. I'm not saying it's going to be a cakewalk to play Georgia. I'm just saying Ohio State, undefeated, winning the Big Ten championship. I don't know if they're as dangerous as this team, having come to terms with, wow, we missed the mark again, and just being sick with themselves for a couple of days. Hungry dogs bite. And Ohio State right now is a very, very hungry dog. So I cannot wait till New Year's Eve till we get to see this matchup. But I'm just telling you, Ohio State's going to be more healthy than they should be, at least ever have been before. They have one matchup. They have others that maybe they feel good about, but they have one especially with what Georgia put on tape in the SEC title game and what Ohio State likes to do offensively in the pass game. That's the one matchup that could be available and could be a difference maker as they come into this game as the underdog, I put in quotes. And they've looked in the mirror a lot these last couple of weeks, last couple of days. I'm sure it feels like last couple of weeks for Ohio State. They thought their season was over. They thought they were just playing for New Year's Six Bowl. Guys were going to opt out, I'm assuming. Not anymore. It's going to be a fun one. But Ohio State, more dangerous than they were a few weeks ago. This has been The Hard Count. Jack Terry lifting heavy. It's your show, the People Show. Everything you know and that you love about college football, it happens here on a daily basis. So glad to have you at the party. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.